Okay, let's get back into our exciting story. Things have just gone really, really bad for the Jewish people. Phones away, please. Open your Megillas to the beginning of chapter 4. Chapter 3 finished with some unusual words. It says that the city of Shushan, which remember is different to Shushan HaBirah, is the general city, Nevocha, were perplexed, were amazed. They couldn't believe something bad was about to happen. And we looked at different interpretations. We looked at one interpretation. They couldn't believe this decree had gone out to kill all the Jews in just under a year's time, because this event is happening, we'll see, in the middle of Nisan, and Haman's decree was that next Adar, which is 11 months from this point, all the Jewish people were going to get killed. However, there is an opinion that this decree was not so clear. There was a decree that was sent out saying around Adar time, something bad is going to happen, so look out. And only officials and leaders from the 127 provinces were fully aware of this decree of Haman and Ahasuerus to kill all the Jewish people. So secrets start to get out, and people are hearing that there's a decree to wipe out the Jews. They weren't sure. They were perplexed. They were nevocha. However, we have the hero to our story, whose name is Mordechai. And Mordechai is not in Shushan, he is in Shushan HaBirah. He's in the capital, the power center. That's why the Megillah described him as Ish Yudi Hayab Shushan HaBirah. He was a very important person, and he got to sit right there in the middle of all the action. And remember, he refused to bow down to Haman, which is what instigated Haman to bring the decree against all the Jewish people. So you could say, actually, you should say, that all of the problems that are about to befall the Jewish people are because of Mordechai. Had he bowed down, they wouldn't be in the situation in the first place. So that we have to figure out. I'm sure there were people who were alive at that point like, what are you doing? Just bow down. Just go to the party like we all went, and then this whole horrible situation would not have come around. And Mordechai would have to stand up and say, I know what I'm doing. But it gets even stranger. Let's begin chapter 4, because things are about to take an even worse turn. Mordechai yada et kol asher na'aseh. Mordechai knew exactly what had been decreed by Haman and Ahasuerus, because he is in the thick of it in Shushan HaBirah. That's one opinion. Another opinion is he had Ruach HaKodesh, or an angel, actually I believe it was Eliyahu Navi, came to reveal this information to him. That's another opinion. But on the surface, it just means he's there, he's in Shushan HaBirah, and if you're walking around the White House, if you're walking around Congress, you get to hear stuff that other people don't get to hear if they're living in Atlanta or Texas or New York or wherever. So he hears what happens. What should his reaction be? Let's have a look. Vayikra Mordechai et begadav. Mordechai rips his clothing. Now, we're going to see there's a number of references to clothing in the Megillah. We saw one already with the dressing up of Ahasuerus as the Kohen Gadol, as the high priest. That was one. This is another, and we're going to see another one today as well. He rips his clothes. What is the symbolism of a person who ripping their clothes?
Mourning.
They're mourning. So he starts to mourn. Wow, that's strange. Why is he mourning? Why is he ripping his clothes? And not only that, look where he does it. Look at chapter 4, verse 1. He knew what happens. He rips his clothes. The Yilbash Tzak ve'efer. He then takes on another set of clothing made of sak, means sackcloth and ashes. They put ashes on you as a sign of real mourning. Right? There's a custom to take some ashes and put it onto the head of the Chatan before he gets married as a sign of the destruction of the temple. That's a really big sign. You don't just do that for anybody or anything. That's big stuff. And remember, he's not just some guy. He's famous in Shushan Abira. He's also the leading rabbi of the day. And there he is. The Yetze, he doesn't just stay at home crying. Usually when a person sits Shiva, Lo Aleinu, they stay home and they don't leave the house for 7 days. Oh no, not Mordechai. He's about to make a big noise. He lets out a loud and bitter cry. He starts screaming, shouting, and crying because he found about this decree. Why is he doing this? Well, let's figure out where he's doing this. Look at the second verse. V'yavo ad lifnei shar melech. He comes up to, ad means up to, but not in the Shar HaMelech, the king's gate. What's he doing there? Why is he going to the gate of the king dressed up like this, shouting and screaming? Because there's a law in the land that no one can enter in a state of mourning into the palace. Which means that if he were not to be wearing this clothing, maybe he would be allowed inside the palace confines. But since he's dressed like this, he can't. So it's getting very confusing. He's put on this crazy clothing, shouting and mourning and screaming. And where does he go? He doesn't go to where the Jews are, because there's no Jews in Shushan Abira. There's only him. And Esther. So why is he doing all this? He's trying to get her attention. But why would you do that? Why would you just put on some regular clothing, go inside, and tell her? And by the way, that's exactly what Esther is about to suggest to him. Wherever this news went out, they did the same thing. People were hearing about it. Got out. Mordechai's gone to the capital. He's gone to the White House. The leading rabbi of his day, shouting, screaming, crying, ripping his clothes, wearing sackcloth and ashes. He wants everyone to know about this. He wants to become famous. But he deliberately does it next to Esther. What happens? So the Narot Esther, Esther's maids, hear about this, and they tell her. And what does she do? V'tischalchal, it says, verse 4. V'tischalchal hamalka ma'od. So the general translation, do you have a translation in front of you? Usually means she got very, very upset. Tischalchal is very similar to another word which is halal. What's halal? That's chilul, but it comes from another word which is halal, which is empty. Because you desecrate Hashem's name when there is a void, an empty space for Hashem. Now you've done something that's made a chilul Hashem. But it comes from the halal, which is an empty place. Actually, in the bracha of Asher Yatzar, nekavim, nekavim, chalulim, chalulim. Nekavim are outside orifices. Chalulim are inner orifices. One opinion is that she had a miscarriage. She was actually pregnant at this point, and when she heard that he was shouting and screaming, she knew something terrible happened. She got so shocked that a reacted. Some say no, she just got totally evacuated herself, and she realized that something really bad had just happened. So what does she do? She wants to find out. So how's she going to find out? Well, we're going to get Mordechai into the palace. But he can't come to the palace because he's dressed up in sackcloth and ashes. She's like, no problem. The tishlach begadim la'abishet Mordechai. So she sends out clothing. I don't know, somehow she found some clothing for Mordechai. She had his size, or she's the queen. And she sent it out to him and says, put this on, come inside and tell me. And what does he do? He's like, no, I don't accept your clothing. I don't want it. What? Why not? You try to get her attention. You got her attention. You freaked her out. She gave you clothing. You can now go inside. And he's like, no. Why not? Why do you think Mordechai said no to the clothing?
Because he wanted her to come out of the palace.
No, doesn't need her outside. He doesn't need her outside.
Does he not want to accept anything more?
He doesn't want to. We got a problem. We got a big problem. What's the problem? The Jewish people are about to be exterminated in less than a year's time. He wants to tell Esther, because he has a job for her to do. He doesn't want her to come out of the palace. But he's like, make no mistake. I'm wearing this, and I'm shouting and screaming, and praying to Hashem for salvation. The solution is not going to come from me or you. She's like, okay, forget God for a second. Come inside and tell me what happened. Because I'm not leaving God out of this for 1 second. He's like, I'm fully engaged in this. This is the way we're going to deal with this. We're going to have to deal with this by fasting, by praying to God to help us. We're going to do what we have to do. But ultimately it's God. Okay, forget God for it. Come inside the palace and then we'll have a little conversation and we'll figure out what we can do. It's not about us. You should know that we're going to do stuff. But ultimately it's God who's going to solve the problems of the Jewish people. And therefore he doesn't even for 5 minutes put on different clothes to go inside. Because they'll be like, you're right, we don't need God in this whole picture. We'll take care of it. No. That's why he wasn't kibel. I'm staying outside. You stay inside. Know the solution is going to come. The solution is going to come from a higher power, a higher place. But I have a plan. And he's going to give her a plan. But before I tell you my plan, lo kibel, I'm not putting on that clothing. You should know the answer is going to come from God ultimately. But I do have a plan. So now they have to communicate. So how are they going to communicate? She's inside. He's outside. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? Well, they need an intermediary, don't they? They need someone who's going to relay messages. Well, who can we trust? Who can we trust? Who knows? This is like, this is the West Wing. Who knows who's on your side or not? There is one person. There is one great person who they can trust. We're not given his name. We're given a code name for him. A lot of code names, right? This is his code name. And his code name, you can see in verse 5, V'tikra Esther la hatach. Hatach. Who's that? Where did he turn up? Who's Hatach? It's a code name. For anybody know, the Gemara tells us, who is it? According to our tradition, this is Daniel Hanavi, Daniel the prophet. He had been involved with the Jewish people before. He was a great advisor to non-Jewish kings, including Nebuchadnezzar, maybe even Belshazzar. They'd got him as the liaison. He's the great prophet Daniel, who had probably some of the greatest prophecies to do with Mashiach, actually, in world history. So Esther, he's still around, he's elderly, is going to use him. Why is he called Hatach? Why is he given this code name? So Hatach means to cut, to split. Because he'd been really powerful, Lachdoch, but now he was half of the man he used to be. He went through a lot. He was half. And some say he was a decider of halacha, and therefore he's a posek, like posek means to cut, psak. So he was a great, great scholar, but he wasn't what he used to be. That's why this particular code name was given to him. So she calls him and says, I got a job for you, yes.
Why was he at the palace?
He was an important person. He was still an important person, but not like he used to be. And he had access.
But
He had access.
among like non-Jews.
Hmm?
He was working
He was an advisor to non-Jewish kings beforehand. Yeah. It's hard to believe the Jews can influence non-Jewish governments, but it is true. Yeah.
Wait, I have a question. What's the problem on Esther going outside and tell?
She doesn't leave the palace. She's queen. She's in the palace. She can't make herself go down. And by the way, it'll be a lot of suspicions. Why are you going to Mordechai? What's your connection over here? He's crying, right? She's got her role. He's got his mission.
Okay.
There are two different worlds. And her mission is going to involve what's happening inside. Yeah?
Has her Jewish identity been?
No, not at all. Her Jewish identity is fully, absolutely bulletproof and secure. And she's going to use that, we're going to see in a moment, in a couple of ways to get her way.
And Mordechai, they know he's Jewish?
Who, what?
Mordechai?
Mordechai adopted his cousin. They were married.
But they know he's Jewish?
They know he is, yeah.
Oh.
They knew he was Jewish. Of course, he was the leader of the Jewish people. He was the chief rabbi of the day.
Right, like,
They knew that they didn't know they were related. They didn't know they were married. They just thought he adopted her and that was it. Right? He took on an orphanage, did a nice thing. He didn't know that she was a Jewish person, where she came from originally. Yeah? They had no idea. Okay. So what happens now? So she calls Hatach from the leaders of the king. So we know that he's working for the king. Ashehem midlefanav. V'tatzaveh al Mordechai, and she sends a command al Mordechai. Ledat mazeh v'al mazeh. It's a strange expression. Mazeh v'al mazeh. What does that mean? Mazeh v'al mazeh. And it's going to sound similar to something else. Mazeh v'al mazeh. Mazeh al mazeh. What is this about? What does that expression mean? What are you saying? Makara, ma'olech, mazeh al mazeh. What's happening? Mazeh. What is this? But it sounds similar to words that are found in Shemot when it talks about the luchot. Now the luchot, the laws, the Ten Commandments, were inscribed, etched, mizeh or mizeh. So she's saying a code word to Mordechai like, something bad happened. Is it to do with the fact that we are not following the commandments that are referred to as mizeh, mizeh? Is this mazeh, mazeh? It's a little bit of a play on words over here. She's trying to figure out, well, what is going on? Is this a mazeh, mazeh, mizeh, mizeh thing? Is this because the Jewish people haven't been following the Torah, that this thing, whatever it is, has befallen us? That's the code which she sends in. Mordechai goes out to Mordechai, El Rechova to the streets of the city, because that's where he's outside. Outside the king's gate. And Mordechai tells Esther everything. He's got the inside information, and he says everything that makara, what happened, he lets her know. And he tells her that a lot of money was potentially transferred. Haman, labdam, to wipe them out. Labdam, by the way, means totally, not laharog. We looked at that word already. Laharog is going to do. This is la'abed. La'abed means to totally nothing left. We're going to get rid of the corpses, their money. There's going to be nothing left at all. Ibud means absolute loss. That's how bad this is. Not like to kill a few of us, but to wipe out any memory of the Jewish people at all. All the Jews are going to die. He's drilling this one home, sisters. He's making her know that this is not just like, some crazy Meshuggah anti-Semite walking around Florida making Nazi salutes. No, that's nothing. He's a Meshuggah. This is la'abdam, to totally wipe out every single Jew.
So they're communicating now through this person.
Yes, through Daniel.
Did they know it was Daniel?
Yeah, of course.
So then why wasn't he the Nabi at the time?
He was.
So people didn't
No, it's a secret. He's going out, secretly going, getting messages backwards and forwards. He's secretly going ahead and doing this.
But also, wouldn't Esther know what's happening? Doesn't she?
She's shielded from this. She's shielded from this. She's in the White House taking this. I don't know, but she wasn't aware. She was not aware. So what happens? By the way, there's a lot more in this conversation we don't know, but we're going to figure out. I'm going to show you their plan. Their plan is not explicit, it's implicit. And when you see the plan they cook up, it's crazy. The plan, Mordechai and Esther right now are going to think up a plan. Actually, Mordechai has the plan. He's going to give it to her. And she's going to have to decide whether she's going to run with it. At the beginning, she denies it and says, I'm not going to do it, as you'll see in a second. Where are we? I'm sorry. And Esther says,
Verse 8. What verse you on?
I'm sorry, I lost the place.
10.
Did I move it? Did I skip? 1 second. Yes, I'm sorry. We're right now on Chet. He tells her about this decree that's gone out in Shushan, La Shmidam, and La Gidla, and he says to her, this is what you got to do. He's like, the decree's gone out, all the Jews are dead, in Adar, this is what's happening. And then he says, it's time. It's time for you to go in to see the king. Now you have to go in voluntarily. Up to now, every time she had to go see the king, she was dragged in and violated. Now you're going to have to offer yourself up by walking in to see the king. That's what you got to do. It's time to tell him you're Jewish. This is it. It's crunch time. You've been years and years in the palace. You're living a fantastic life. It's time to tell him who you are, where you're from. But there's a problem. What's the problem? Well, look at verse 9. He tells her exactly what Mordechai has told her to do. Go in and tell him. You better go and tell Mordechai that there's a law. Everybody knows. Everyone in the entire world knows. Any man or woman who goes to the king in his chaser pinimit, in his inner chamber, asher lo yikra, who is not called, lamit, gets killed. Unless the king shows you his golden scepter, that's the sign that you're allowed to see him. And I haven't been called shlosha yom for 30 days. So there is a law which didn't exist before, but came around after the assassination attempt of Bigtan and Teresh, that if you want to see the king, you need 30-day prior warning. Wow, that's a strange and harsh law. If you don't get 30 days warning, you walk in, you get killed. Why? Because he's a paranoid dictator who's got assassination attempts, and usually who assassinates people who are closest to you. So everyone, including your wife, would have to get 30-day permission. But if you walk in on day 21 without this 30-day permission, without the FBI and CIA checking you out for 30 days, you get killed. Unless he takes favor, pity upon you, lets out his golden scepter, and saves you. So what's Esther telling Mordechai? No, I'm not going. If I go in, I'm going to get killed. It's a suicide mission. It's a suicide mission. Madness. I'm not going in. Now Mordechai says what's probably the most famous verses in the entire Megillah. He gives it to her, and we learn from this he says three things to her. What does he say? He's going to persuade her to take on this mission. By the way, the mission isn't just to go see him. It's a lot deeper than that. The mission is actually crazier. You thought just seeing him within 30 days without permission is bad. Oh, friends, this is crazy. He says to the following. He says, Ki. He's like, okay, you better tell Esther, Danielle, the following words. Al tidabi benafshech. Don't imagine in your soul. Limalet beit hamelech mikol yodim. Number one. Don't think you'll survive. Because you're in the palace. You're Jewish. They're going to find out you're Jewish eventually. And you're going to be dead as well. You'll be dead. you'll die eventually as well. They'll catch up with you. That's number one. You're sitting here all anonymous. You think you're going to get away with it? Don't think that you can himalet. Beit HaMelech will do it. Being in this palace will save you. That's number one. That's verse 13. Number 2, verse 14. If you are, hacharesh means mute. Hacharesh, whenever you repeat a word, it means really, really mute. If you really, really, really are silent, Beit Hazot, at a time like this, 2. The Jewish people will be saved. We're going to be saved. I know that. But from somewhere else. We're going to be saved, but you're going to miss your opportunity to save the entire Jewish people. You have a tremendous opportunity. It could be yours, but we're going to be saved. We know that. Why? Because there's a promise given to Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and in the Torah. The Jewish people, who are so, we know this is not going to, but are you going to be part of that? And finally, Va'at Beit Avich Tovedu, and you and your entire family will be lost. And finally, Umiotea, and who knows? Imlet Kazot, Higat al Malchut. Maybe, perhaps, Ulai, you reached this place, i.e., as queen of this vast amount of area, just for this reason. This is your unique mission.
Didn't she know that?
No, she knew what's going on. We do because we're in hindsight.
No, but she knew. She
She
didn't
knew
want to
something,
go.
but maybe this was it. Maybe everything's ever happened to you, and every occurrence has come down to this one decision. And if she doesn't do it, done. No Megilat Esther, Megilat Shoshana, Barbara, Emily, Ilana, whatever. This is your mission, and it comes down to this one point. So he's really given it to her. He's laid it down thick. Don't think you're going to get away with it. We're going to be saved. You can miss out your entire mission in life. You're going to get killed anyway if you don't try to help now. You may be part of but the Jewish people are going to survive. And this is why you're here. Don't forget. You know, people get all famous and powerful, they forget where they came from. Right? It happens. She's all rich, and she's famous, and she's the queen. She's been there for years inside the palace, and he's like, this is it. By the way, what was the mission that he wanted to do? It wasn't just to stand in front of him. What was the mission? Does anybody know?
A feast. Have a feast.
That's it? That's your mission? Have a feast? That's it? No, there's something very, very, this idea of, the question is, what was their plan? They have a plan over here. The plan is not specified. We just know she's going to talk to Achashverosh. But that's not the plan. The Megillah does not explicitly tell us the plan, and I'll show you why. It cannot. Because later on, Achashverosh is going to see this Megillah and get extremely upset if he were to see what the plan is.
To not make him sleep so he would read it.
No. They got a really crazy suicide mission. Literally suicide mission. The fact she survived is miraculous. Miraculous that she didn't get killed because of this crazy mission. Her speaking to him wasn't the mission, because who knows what she's going to say.
To tell him that she's Jewish and that Haman is trying to kill her.
That's not the mission.
Convince him to pick her over.
Nope.
To call Haman?
It's amazing. People don't know what the mission is. It's going to blow your mind. Watch this. Nope. Part of it's going to be that she's going to tell him that she's Jewish, but it's something much, much bigger than that. So what's that going to do? Fine, I'll kill the Jews, I'll let you live. No. This is something much, much bigger. It's very clever, by the way. She accepts the mission now. He talked her into it. And I love this piece because it all up to now, Mordechai has been pushing Esther, telling her what to do, go to the palace, get married, live there, do this, and now the power changes. She takes control. Look what she says. The Tome Esther Lashiv al Mordechai, verse 15. Okay, you ought to do it, I'm in. But I'm in charge now, says Esther. Lech, go, knos, gathers together. Et kol Yehudim animsa b'Shushan. Every Jew in Shushan. Not Shushan Abira, because there are no Jews there, but in Shushan, where a vast majority of Jews were. V'tzumu, and fast. This is one of the reasons we fast Erev Purim, Tanit Esther. It comes to remember this fast. Alai, for me, v'al tochlu, and I mean no eating, v'al tishtu, and no one drinks, shloisha yomim, for 3 days. No food to do with it. Can you imagine that? By Yom Kippur, you're already dying. After 1 day, this is a 3-day fast. Wow. Imagine the chief rabbi told him to fast for 3 days. Laila v'yom, night and day. Gamani, and I'm also now retiring at Som. I'm also going to. Look at that. And I'm going to go, and I'm going to go against the Lord. The kasher avadati. And if I die, I die. Why would she die? She wasn't invited in. And she's going to say things which are crazy. Get there in a second. Avadati. If I die, I die. Why the double lashon? Says the Gemara. She was basically saying, I died spiritually by leaving Mordechai and marrying Achashverosh. Avadati. I'll die physically. I'm already dead. This whole experience has killed me. So if I die physically, nothing compared to what I've died in order to save my people already. And now she's, according to many opinions, up to this point, she was an oines. She was the level of an oines. She was taken against her will and raped. Now she's volunteering herself to Achashverosh, walking in voluntarily, and that puts her in a whole different category of responsibility for her actions, which normally you cannot do, forbidden sexual relationships. But to save the entire Jewish people, we can talk about it. And that's how Ben Yehuda understands it. People say that she was allowed to do this because she was going to save everyone.
Why didn't Mordechai just divorce her?
Hmm?
Why didn't Mordechai just divorce her?
Oh, they were.
So that
But she could have maybe got back together. But once you have relations with someone else, you can't go back together with your husband. You can remarry your husband, you divorce, but not if you have someone in between. V'yavor Mordechai v'yas kosher. Mordechai listened, and ya'avor. What's ya'avor? Passed, or why say passed? Just say he listened to her. He took the instructions. What's the date? When does this take place, this conversation? What month? We're told what month it took place in. Nisan. What holidays in Nisan? Pesach. What do you have to do on Pesach? Eat, drink. That year, there was no Pesach Seder. This 3-day fast, v'ya'avor, transgressed Pesach. No one in Shushan had a Pesach Seder, no matzah, no maror, no dalikosot, gone. Imagine that. Now, that's powerful. That's how bad the situation was. She basically cancelled Pesach for the year. Not so, right? That's what happened. V'yavor Mordechai, he does the Avera. I'm not doing that. V'yas kol shetzivah lav Esther. He listened to everything that he was commanded to by Esther.
All the Jews listened to Esther.
The Jews are listening to Esther and Mordechai. Oh, no, it's coming through Mordechai though. Mordechai's telling him to do this. They don't realize it's Esther.
All of them are listening to.
I know, it's not great. They listen to the chief rabbi? Crazy, right? Imagine I try saying that. Hear ye, hear ye. The rabbi says you should all give up. Lashon hara, give up. Like, yeah, I'll fire and get a new rabbi. Okay. Chapter 5. Yeah, okay, good. Chapter 5. Chapter 5 begins with a word. What is the word? What is the word? Vayhi. Vayhi always means something very difficult is about to happen. Things are about to get really, really difficult. Vayehi. Bayom hashlishi. On the third day. Third day of what? Third day of what?
The fast.
Of this fast. So the third day's come. We're in the 30-day window. They didn't eat anything on Pesach. They gave up a Pesach Seder for this. V'tilbash Esther Malchut. There's another reference to clothing. She gets dressed up in Malchut. So he's in sackcloth and ashes. She now gets dressed up as Malchut. What does that mean?
That's weird.
Royal raiment. She puts on her royal raiments, her royal clothing, because she's about to go in and see Achashverosh. So she's thinking, at least let me be dressed up like a queen. Maybe there's a chance I'll survive this terrifying moment, this suicide mission. Because no one can go and see the king, because he's petrified of being assassinated. And I'm going to pop into his inside chamber. Whoa, you don't mess with that. This is the iron wall he created. Some say, the Gemara says no. It means she had Ruach HaKodesh. At this moment, she was granted Malchut from Shemayim, from Hashem. And she was blessed at this moment with tremendous chen, says the Gemara. Tremendous charm. Even though, what do you think you look like after 3 days of eating and fasting? Sorry, of no eating, fasting and praying. Like a shmata. So Hashem did her a favor and made her look like Malchut, like royalty. Okay? V'ta'amod. Ta'amod means she stood. The Gemara says she couldn't stand, she could barely walk. But God did her a favor. Ta'amod, he stood her up via angels. Angels had to hold her up to allow her even to walk. They raised her up. They gave her this tremendous charm of Malchut. This is heavenly royalty. So she goes in. And the king is sitting on his throne. Remember, whenever you see the word king, it can mean two things. It refers to Achashverosh, but also refers to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And now Hashem, it's a code for Hashem because he's the ultimate king. That's why in many Megillas you'll see every column begins with the word HaMelech. On the top right. Hashem is now on his throne. When is Hashem on his throne? When he's about to make decisions. So she knew that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was going to decide the fate of her and the Jewish people. And the king is on his throne. And it was Pasuk Beis. Kirot HaMelech Esther, when he sees her omedet standing, oh, nasa chen leinav. He had tremendous love for her. That's Achashverosh or Hashem. Hashem favored her actions and his fasting. Vayoshet HaMelech leEsther sharbet zahav. He stretches out his golden scepter, his staff. She touches it, and that's a sign she's been accepted and she ain't gonna die. Okay, hurdle one crossed. She's in. But what's she gonna do? Okay, now you're in. You got an audience with the president. You got an audience with the king. Well, what are you gonna do? Well, what would you think she's gonna do? Hello, I'm Jewish. You want to kill my people? She doesn't do that. She does something extremely cunning, very smart, and very crazy. She throws a party. Look what it says. Look what it says. And this party, by the way, is a major part of the plan. Watch carefully. It's fascinating. The king says to her, Malach Esther Malka, what do you need? Uma bakashatech. And what's your request? I'll give you up to half of my kingdom. Well, that's it. Half? When I promised my wife, she gets everything. I don't promise her that because she takes everything. Why half? What half is he not giving her? The fact he's offering her half, just take this literally, what half is he not giving her?
You're talking about half the power?
Why only half? He says to her, I'll give you even half of my malchut, half of my territory, but not
The Jews?
Jerusalem. Don't try to get Jerusalem from me. he even had control over Israel. Nah, that you're not going to get. No one gets that. You can take everything, but you're not getting that. That half of what I have, you're not going to be getting from me. Right? The Jews are going back. Whatever it is, you can take it all, but you're not taking that.
Yehuda is that half of the kingdom.
That's considered half of it. V'yom HaMelech. And, Vatomer Esther. Look at this verse. This is fascinating. So this is the plan. Now the plan's coming. She got in, and this is the plan. Vatomer Esther, verse 4. Im ala melech tov. If it's good for you, Yavo HaMelech v'Haman. I'm inviting you and Haman, Hayom, today. Of course, going quick, isn't it? Nothing for years. It's like that bus you're waiting for. You get nothing for 3 hours, and then 3 turn up at the same time. So today, Hayom, today, El HaMishta, by the way, part of the success of the plan was the speed it all happens. It's like Yeshuat Hashem, terrifying. When Hashem saves, it can come in the blink of an eye. Nothing for years, no success in Parnasah, Shidduchim, and then suddenly, boop, boop, boop. You know? Ela mishta asher asiti lo. By the way, the entire plan is in that verse. Can you see it? Can you see it? What is it? It's hinted at. It's a hint. It's not explicit.
She invited Haman also.
She invited Haman also. Why is she inviting Haman? Oh, Zoe, you got it, sister. Look what it says at the end. What's low? What should she say to him? What should she say? I'm inviting Lacha, Ata. She says low. What's low? What is low? Him. Who's him? So on the surface, she's inviting Achashverosh. Look at the translation. She's inviting Achashverosh. No. She's inviting Haman. She's starting to put extremely subtle, at this point it's really subtle. It's going to get more explicit. But she's putting a tiny little crumb in his head that she's throwing a party and she's inviting Haman. And actually the party is for Haman. Why would she do that? What's she implying with a statement? Okay.
Get him jealous.
Why would he be jealous?
Because it's his wife.
And
Haman is his second in command.
this is exactly what's going on. She's making out that her and, very subtle, her and Haman are in a relationship, right? And who's the person most likely to kill you and take over your kingdom? Second in command. She is putting seeds into his head that her and Haman are in it together, we're in a relationship, and we're going to take over your kingdom. And that's why she invites Haman. So we have 3 perspectives. From Haman's perspective, wow, I've been invited to the most important feast ever. Me and the king and the queen. So he's feeling good. Right? The bigger they are, harder they fall. Achashverosh is getting, whoa, what's Haman doing there? Why is Haman invited to this party? Okay, he's second in command. But you're inviting him and then me as well. So now, Achashverosh is, a small part of his brain is like, hello, something doesn't smell good. From Haman's perspective, it's fantastic. And Esther is putting herself on the line because what could Achashverosh do? Kill her. Oh, what? You and Haman are in this together? He's dead and you're dead. That's the suicide mission. She's putting her life on the line. Forget walking in. It's the implication. Now that could not be put explicitly in the Megillah because that would embarrass Achashverosh later on when he read the Megillah. Vayomer HaMelech maru et Haman. Quickly, get me Haman. La'asod et dvar Esther. To do Esther v'yavo HaMelech v'Haman. So Haman and him come to the Mishteh asher asta Esther, that Esther made. Vayomer HaMelech le'Esther b'Mishteh hayayin. He says to her at this feast, Ma she'elatech. Okay, fine. You got me here, and I'm here with Haman. Big, beautiful feast. What's your question? V'yinaten lach. I'm going to give you whatever you want. Ma b'gashtech, but only half. The test is going to happen. What does she say? V'tan Esther v'tomar, this is what I want. Verse 8. If it's all good, v'malach tov, to give me what I want, if you really mean what you're saying, and you want to give me what I want, come back tomorrow. So she throws the first feast, one that she cannot eat in because it's still a fast. She's still weak from the fast. But tomorrow she's going to be eating. But this one she doesn't. She's like, you know what, come back tomorrow and discuss it with you. So she makes another feast. And what's that for? She's doubling down. Oh, you thought it was bad before. Now she's really, feast number 2. You're going to hear it all. She's building up the suspense. And, more importantly, the suspicion. Now, Achashverosh is really, he's like, what is going on? Feast, you walk in, uninvited, I let you live, you invite me to a feast, you invite Haman, then you do another feast, and you invite Haman again. How's Haman feeling now?
Pretty special.
Pretty special, that's right, Leo. He's like in psycho land. Look at this, says, verse 9, Vayetza Haman v'yamohu, and Haman goes out, Sameach, he's really happy. V'tov lev, and his heart's good. Right? He's feeling fat. He's feeling psyched. He's like, it's good to be king. V'kirot Haman et Mordechai. And now, he's really feeling good, and he sees Mordechai, once again, Bashar Melech, v'lo kam, he doesn't get up. V'lo zay, he doesn't even move. Now before he did that, and he said, I'm going to kill the entire Jewish people. Now he sees it, that he's really powerful, because he's now invited a private party, and he's really, really, really angry. Now, v'yimaleh Haman al Mordechai chema. Mordechai, he gets really, really angry. Okay, before he was angry enough to kill the Jews, but now it just got personal. It just got personal. So what's he going to do now?
Embarrass him.
Oh, is it a divorce?
Worse than that. No
Kill
divorce.
Mordechai.
Divorce.
Kill Mordechai. Before it was below a station, but now he's so powerful and important that he thinks killing the leader of the Jewish people won't affect him in any way. So he's going to kill Mordechai. But he checks with his family first. He wants to kill him there and then. V'itapek. He's like, I restrain myself. V'yavol came to his house. V'yishloch v'yavo et ovav et Zeresh ishto. He's got a wife called Zeresh. She's bad news, this woman. She hates the Jews as much as him. V'yisaper lahem Haman. He explains to them, his family, et kavod ashra. He's like, by the way, you know I'm really rich. Oh, they need to hear that. They need to hear once again how rich he is. He's like, Mr. Billionaire, like, honey, you know I am, right? You know that I'm like the richest person around. V'rov banav, and all of his kids, his many sons, we're going to meet them again, God willing. V'et kol asher gidlo hamelech, and explains to them that I had the money, now I got the power. I'm like money and power. V'yom Haman, af lo evia Esther malka mamelech. He didn't just invite the king, he invited me. I'm like, I'm the king over here. And I've been invited to a second feast. It wasn't a coincidence. I'm invited to a special feast. He should be happy with that, right? Nope. Not Haman. Look at verse 13. V'chol zeh. All of this money and power and pride and honor, einenu shavali, means nothing to me. Why? V'cholet ashani roet Mordechai, because I see Mordechai Yehudi, that damn Jew, Yoshe b'shar melech, sitting in the gate of the king. I can't enjoy it. You know, there's people, they have all the money or the power, and they're depressed because one thing. That's why we said, this is just like Adam and Chava and Gan Eden. They can eat from all the trees except Hamin ha'etz, from that Haman tree. That I can't have, I have nothing at all. Nothing at all. And Mordechai was aware of that. He knew by not bowing down to him, he was going to get a reaction. Which he did. So his wife says, no problem. V'tomer lo Zeresh ishto v'chol avav yasu eitz. Take a tree, a beam of wood. Gavoa Chamishim Amma. 50 amot. How big is an amma? What's an amma? A cubit. What's that? Amma comes to the word arm. Actually, the word arm comes to the word amma. About from there to there. 1.5 feet, 2 feet. Talk about a 75-foot, 100-foot wooden platform you're going to set up. This is the plan. By the way, does anyone know where he got this wood from? Nope. There's something in the Torah that is described as being 50 amot. A wooden piece that is 50 amot.
They are.
And there's some, very good, Tevat Noach. One of his sons was in Turkey, was a leader in Turkey, and he went and he imported this wood especially from Turkey. There's a whole shtickle of the connection between Noach and the wood and Haman using it for this purpose. Anyway, he goes and takes this 50 amots, piece of wood, and he says, you know what, up to now I couldn't personally get Mordechai, but I just lost it now. Now he really pushed my buttons. Right? I'm going nuclear on this Jew, and I'm going to kill the Jews as well. And he makes this promise. He agrees with his wife, and now he's like, now I feel better, honey. Thanks for that. I feel better. You made me feel good. I'm going to kill this Jew, this leading Jew. And he made this very, very big tree. Wood that he's going to hang him on. By the way, why did he choose hanging as opposed to anything else?
To publicize it, to show it off.
Okay, drown him, shoot him in the head, stab him.
To show it off to the other one.
So the Gemara says that he thought about all the different ways the Jewish people have been saved. And water, saved from the water. Yeah? We have the Tevat Noach, the Ark of Noah. And they've been saved from Tower of Babel, right? The people, and they've been saved in so many ways, so many scenarios, but never from hanging. Maybe this one thing will work against these Jews. Yeah.
Doesn't that have anything to do with it's a tree, like the tree from Gan Eden?
Could be. Could be why he uses wood from the tree of Gan Eden. Could be. I hear you. Okay. Now the Megillah goes on a bit of a weird tangent about something else. Can you close the door, please? Thank you so much. The Megillah goes on a bit of a tangent to another story. So the scene changes. The scene changes to the bedroom of Achashverosh. Balayla hahu, that night. Balayla hahu, that night. Nadada shnat hamelech. The sleeping of the king was disturbed. He couldn't sleep. He could not sleep. Who's the king? Or Hashem. Well, Hashem couldn't sleep. Hinei lo yonam v'lo yishan shomer Yisrael. God never sleeps. It means that Hashem was, quote unquote, awakened to the situation that the Jewish people and Mordechai were under. Hashem is not sleeping through this one. He's wide awake. So he's got to find a way to get back to sleep. So what does he do? He sends for a book. Nothing can get you faster to sleep than a nice, big, boring book. Et Sefer HaZichronot, the book of remembrances. Wow, what's this? What is this book? Divrei Hayamim, Chronicles. That means it wasn't like, some novel, but it's a list of things. Of remembrances. What remembrances? You gotta remember, maybe you need to fix something. Maybe I'm not falling asleep, said Achashverosh, because I owe someone a favor. Maybe I'm not falling asleep because something happened which I didn't fix up. Something's not right. So he brings it out. They brought it to him to read from it. So he brings his people, his servants, they bring him this book so he can read from this book of events. And the sermon written inside this book, which is read to him, that there's a guy called Mordechai, and he had saved the king's life, al Bigtan of Teresh, when it came to Bigtan and Teresh, Shnei Seresi Melech. These two people tried to assassinate you. You owe him a favor. You didn't pay him back. Or maybe that's why I'm not sleeping, because I got to pay this guy back for what he did for me. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I remember that story. I almost forgot about it. There were these two guys who had access to my private affairs who tried to kill me. 1 second. Wasn't I invited to a party with Haman? Wasn't I invited to another party with Haman? Maybe Haman, the pieces are starting to fall together. He's falling inside Mordechai and Esther's trap. Maybe, right now, the same thing's about to happen to me. And I didn't pay back Mordechai the first time. Maybe he knows stuff about this other assassination, which I think is I think this is happening. I want to reward Mordechai for what he did for me.
Wait, but is he also suspicious of Haman right now?
Yeah. Mordechai and Esther put that inside him by inviting Haman to the Suda and make it out as though he's after his position and his wife. He says, well, what am I going to do? I need more information. I got to keep my people happy. My insiders have to be happy. This guy Haman's about to kill me. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Boop! At that moment, something happens. He hears a rustling outside. Who is it? Who's the rustling? Haman. What time is it? What time is it? Late, middle of the night. It's the middle of the night. Who comes to you in the middle of the night? Huh? Who's coming? Who? What kind of person?
If he's seeking your opinion.
A little suspicious. You want to see me? Come 3 p.m. Don't wake me up. You just happen to be rustling around? Oh, I see. Oh, you're spying on me. Oh, I see. You're trying to kill me. Oh, I got this. Oh, I'm going to put you in your place. And Haman's coming. Why is Haman actually coming? To tell him about Mordechai. He wants to kill him. Right? No. What does Achashverosh understand it as? He's trying to kill him. So everyone's got their own little story in their heads coming around. Right? It's all coming together. He says, who's coming? And Mordechai came to tell him to. He wants permission to kill Mordechai because Mordechai is a very important person. You don't just kill, you know what I'm saying, you're the leader of the Jewish people for no reason. Goes, oh wow, yeah? Well, bring him in. He's like, before you ask me anything, I got a question for you. What should I do? This is like a little test. What should I do with someone, Chafei speaker, that I really want to honor? What should I do with him? What question is this? He's testing him to think. What? What's he testing? What's his motivations? So he gives him the scenario to see how he takes the scenario. Let me tell you something. Let's say I were to want to honor someone, all right? And I know you think it's you. What should I be doing with you? Haman answers in his heart, right? By the way, another proof that the Megillah is written with Ruach HaKodesh, because how are you meant to know what Haman is thinking, right? But this will reveal to Mordechai and Esther. And so Haman says to the king, it's obviously me he wants to honor, because he's now rich and famous and honored. I'll tell you what you're going to do. Bring royal clothing. There's clothing again. Yeah, there's clothing again. Bring your royal clothing, Malchat Hashelavash B'Amelech, that you wear, and bring this horse, the royal horse, and put a crown on the head of the person.
Is that what Haman says?
Haman says to Achashverosh. That's again. So Achashverosh is testing him. What's your motivation over here? Haman thinks he wants to honor me. Put a crown on his head. Achashverosh is like, oh my goodness, this guy's got chutzpah. He's even admitting to me that he wants the royal crown on his head. He failed that test. In Haman's mind, right? It's working out fantastic. He says, you know what? Do exactly as you're saying and walk him through the streets to Mordechai. Kachat lavush, take the clothing, vetasus on the royal horse, just as you said, and do to Mordechai, Hayudi, Hayoshu b'shar melech, and don't leave out a single piece. You know what? It's time to bring you down a peg or two. You got a little too full of yourself. You are going to honor Mordechai, because he's the one who helped with Big Sana Teresh. I think you're the next problem I'm going to be dealing with. That's my gut feeling, which, unbeknownst to him, was fed to him through Esther and Mordechai. And he did exactly as he was meant to do. Vayikach Haman et halavush. He takes the clothing, ve'et hasus, and the horse, and he dresses Mordechai. So Mordechai now is getting dressed from sackcloth and ashes, and he's going to have to put on this royal clothing, and he's going to be walked through the streets. And not only that, he's going to have to announce, V'yikra lefanav, kacha yaseh ish. This is how people who respect and honor the king are treated. This is how they are treated. Right? In other words, you take my side, people, you get this kind of honor. You go against me, you get big time and teresh. Right? He's really trying to win over. And that's what he does. Right afterwards, what does Mordechai do? You would have thought he's a big kanaka now, Mordechai. Nope. March is over. He goes back, Mordechai, El Shara Melech, and he puts on his sackcloth and ashes, and he goes back to the gate. That's one opinion. Another opinion is this is referring to Haman. Haman mourns. Why? Why is Haman mourning? Someone died. His daughter died. His daughter saw this, the Midrash Gemara tells us, sees the scenario of one person leading another, one in royal clothing, thinks, it must be my father. So she throws out her waist, hits her father, he looks up, he gets it right in the face. She gets so upset at this scene, she throws herself out the window and kills herself. So now he's lost his daughter at this point. That's why the Chafoi Rosh is actually Haman himself. So now he goes, and Haman goes and tells his wife, you won't believe what happened to me. This is crazy. How did this happen? He tells me exactly, Asher Karahu. It's a very important word, Karahu. We're going to come back to it. It's a very Amalek word. It's a very Amalek word. What happened to me? What does the word Kara mean? That just happened by coincidence. Because you won't believe the random events that are happening right now. Kara. He learned this from his great ancestors, the Amalekites, that attacked the Jewish people in the desert after they left Egypt. Asher Karach HaBaderech. They happened upon us. They are the people of happenstance, of coincidence. This is just happening. You won't believe what's happening to me. He doesn't see this as Hashem. His wife does. His wise people and his wife said, you know what? It's not going to work. This is because they're Jewish. They have a God that's protecting them. He says, you're going to fall down before him. Stop what you're doing. It's not going to work. So his wife and wise people over there, they're like, no. This is not a good idea. It's not going to work. But he says, no, it's coincidence. Kara. He just misunderstood what I was thinking. He wants to honor Mordechai, and I have to get it in the face, and that's it. And while they're still having this conversation, he can't even reflect upon it. Come along the Sarasi HaMelech, and they run in, and they say there's a command, Laviat Haman, Elamishtasha Asta Esther. It's time for the second feast. He doesn't get a chance to take a break after this whole thing. It's all happening minute by minute. Right? It's all going down. You've gone from 9 months of pregnancy of waiting, and suddenly, doctor's called in, baby's about to be born, it all gets going. That's a perfect analogy. I'll explain why later. Yes?
Can you explain again what kara means and how it has
Okay,
to do with
kara means, makar means what happened. The word kara means it just happened. Things just happen. He's like, you won't believe what just happened to me. There's no God involved in this. He's from Amalek. He doesn't believe there's a divine plan. This just happened to his wife said, no. These people are Jewish, it's not going to work. God's got their back right now. You better abandon your plans. He's like, no, it's a kara, it just happened. That word appears in the Torah in describing it's a trait of Amalek. Amalek are the people where things just kara. It says, kacha b'derech. They happened upon the Jewish people in the desert. Things just happen. There's no divine plan. There's no God. They're atheists. It just happened. There's no divine plan. Aimed in, end out. There's no God. Things just occurred. He's not getting the message that's being sent to him. And by the way, Mordechai and Esther were aware of that and knew that he'd end up in his own. So that's the word kara. We're going to revisit that word later on. There's one other interpretation for that word, which we'll come to, but it just means happenstance. It just means happenstance. What time does class finish? Let's stop over there. We'll stop at the end of chapter 6, about to start chapter 7. We'll pick this up next class, God willing, and we'll see what happens at the second feast of of Haman. I'm already confusing them. Achashverosh and Esther. Thank you.